Commissioner, since we last saw you. It's Andrew Morgan down there on your left. Well, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, as well as I can be, I guess.
How did it go to the governor's office?
It went fine. I felt like the interview went well. It's one of those things. Everybody that goes up usually is pretty qualified to hold the seat, so you can never really complain too much about, other than not getting what I wanted, I guess. But I'm happy for Lee. He's a good guy. I know him, and so I felt like the interview went fine.
Anything you would do different after that experience?
I can't think of anything that I would do differently. Like I said last time, I'm kind of an open book a little bit. I am who I am. I don't try to put on fronts for people. I just kind of try to shoot straight with people, and so that they know who I am and what they're getting if they put me on the bench or put me somewhere wherever they're going to put me. So they asked me a couple of questions about some recent Supreme Court decisions, and I happened to have read up a little bit on some of those, so I felt like I was fairly well prepared to respond to some of those issues. And I would probably just do the same thing, read up on some recent decisions, and make sure that I'm able to explain to them why I think I'm the best candidate for the job.
Still involved in Boy Scouts?
I am, and in fact, I'm leaving tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to drive. My son's 18, he's getting ready to go off to college, and this is his last high adventure camp that he's going on. I didn't get to go to Camp Philmont with him last summer. I wanted to go do that and couldn't, so this time we are going up to Camp Daniel Boone in North Carolina, and we're going to be doing 3 days of backpacking and then 3 days of river rafting. So if I survive that next week, then I'll be available for the governor's office if they want me. But it's I try to stay involved in that stuff. Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's good for the boys. And, so.
How did he like Philmont?
He really liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a little bit concerned because it's very. They were out there for 14 days.
Yeah.
They did the long 2-week one.
It's primitive backpacking.
Primitive backpacking. They were out. I mean, they were sleeping under the stars for basically 2 weeks. So, and Jackson really, he came home, I think, affected by that in a good way.
Okay.
So,
Where's he going to school?
University of North Florida. That's where he's going, at least for now. He may be back at some point. I don't know. I told my children, all of my children, I've told them that I will help them where I can, but I put myself through college. I worked all the way through college, undergrad and grad, working at UPS, working washing windows. I went to college at BYU, and I worked in Park City for washing windows, and I worked in a factory building window frames for housing and construction stuff. I worked at a bakery. I've worked at just about anything you could think of. I was a lifeguard for a while. I've done just about everything. So I've told them, and because I was paying my way through college, I think that helped me, A, take it more seriously and B, appreciate it more. And so I told all of them, don't expect mom and dad to put you through college. I mean, we'll help you where we can, but I expect them to work and pay their tuition, and maybe I'll help them out every now and again with, if he's coming up short on the rent or something like that. But I just think that helps them to appreciate that opportunity that they have more. So he's going to UNF for now, and we'll see how all the finances shake out if he ends up back down here at Daytona State or something, which wouldn't bother me at all if he wanted to go at home and go to Daytona State for the first couple of years and get at least his associate's degree there locally.
I don't know if you were at the judicial forum last night with the candidates running for judge, but there was a lot of discussion about docket management and efficiency, and that being the big challenge for judges, just the number of cases they have. Can you talk about efficiency, running your docket, innovations that you've made, or things that you would try and bring or do on the circuit court bench?
Sure. Well, I mean, as far as the efficiency goes, in county court we have so many cases. I mean, every arraignment session I have probably at least 100 cases for arraignment. Every pretrial, on my private attorney pretrial dockets, I have usually 120 cases on every private attorney pretrial docket. And then I have it broken down. I do my private attorneys on one day, and then I do the public defender and the pro se cases on another day. And usually on my PD pro se docket, I've got usually 60 or 70 in the morning and 60 or 70 in the afternoon. And so as far as managing the docket goes, one of the things that Judge Sanders and I, since we kind of share courtrooms and share a suite over there in DeLand, we have come up with a plea form. We've come up with a waiver of counsel form that now they're using in a lot of the other courtrooms. I mean, I didn't invent it. I don't want to take credit for something that I didn't invent, but we did borrow it from one of the other judges in one of the other circuits, and then we kind of modified it to our circuit and to what we felt like we needed here. But you know, you have such a high volume of cases in county court that you have to figure out ways to kind of just save a few minutes here and a few minutes there. And so what I do is when I come into the courtroom at the very beginning of court, I do kind of my introductory thing where I talk about everyone's constitutional rights and the effects of entering a plea to a criminal charge, and if they're not a U.S. citizen, that plea will subject them to possible deportation. If they're a sexual offender or sexual predator, that their plea may also subject them to civil commitment proceedings under Jimmy Rice. And so I kind of go through all that with them up front. And I just do that once. And then, you know, everybody in the courtroom has a plea form, and on that plea form it has everything on the front of what I go through that first introduction, and then on the back side of the plea form it has all the fines and costs and everything else for all the different types of charges that we typically deal with in county court. And then when they come up to the podium, if they're going to enter a plea, I don't have to go through the whole plea colloquy again. I just tell them, you know, I hold up the form, I say, is this your signature? And they say yes or no. They always say yes. And I ask them if they read it, did they understand it? If they have a lawyer, I ask them if they have any questions for a lawyer about anything. And so it's just, you know, it takes what could be a 5 to 10 minute plea colloquy for every case, and then it brings it down to maybe a couple of minutes per case. So that saves us a lot of time doing that. One other thing that we're kind of working on right now is, you know, the introductory colloquy takes usually 10 to 15 minutes, and we've talked about maybe doing some sort of an introductory, like a recording that we play for everybody in the courtroom, so that then we can be in our chambers for those 15 minutes doing paperwork or whatever else we need to be doing while the people in the courtroom listen to the colloquy. And we've kind of gone back and forth about that because I think that there's something to be said for me being there, you know, and kind of talking to them and seeing the whites of their eyes, so to speak. And, you know, I notice a lot of times I can just, as I'm looking around the courtroom as I'm talking, I can see, I can just kind of gauge where things are at. And so there's something that he said, I think, for being there in the courtroom and actually letting people hear from you as opposed to hearing a recording. So we've kind of gone back and forth about that. I want the courtroom to be a place where people feel comfortable, where it's not just like this robotic experience where they come in and, you know, they see the judge or talk to the judge for like 30 seconds and then, you know, they never talk to you again. So we're trying to figure some things out as far as that goes, but those are a couple of things that I've been involved with to try to speed things up and move things along while making sure that everyone's due process rights are protected. So.
Go ahead.
When you went to Tallahassee, did you feel like when you were interviewed there was a particular area they were kind of honing in on? I don't know, for circuit judges here, death penalty or?
They did ask me about the death penalty. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's a particular area that they were honing in on. I mean, they wanted to know what my thoughts were about, you know, just being a judge in general, why I wanted to be a circuit judge. You know, I kind of explained all that to them and why I was there. You know, they did ask specifically about the death penalty and whether I would become death penalty certified if I became a circuit judge. But that wasn't like the focus of the interview. I don't know if I could say there was one main focus. It was kind of a broad spectrum of just trying to get a sense of who I am, I guess, as a person and as a judge.
Do the players change every time you go out there? Is it different interviewers?
Well, these have all been in such quick succession that the players haven't changed over the last two. There was one guy that was different the last time I went up there, but the other two that were interviewing me, I've never met with the general counsel directly. It's always been with his assistants. I've met with two of the same assistants the last couple of times I've gone up there. There was one guy that was a different guy, but I think, they're doing this. I mean, while I'm sitting up there, I can hear them all talking and making phone calls and.
But they're all pretty young, is that right?
I've said before, I felt like I was getting interviewed by my son for the job. So, yeah, no, they're obviously qualified to hold their jobs, but yes, they do appear much younger even than me, so I don't know how old they are.
When you take attorneys who appear before you, what would they have to say about you, your demeanor, your temperament, your character?
I would hope that they'd say that I'm fair and that I'm, open-minded and that I don't treat people disrespectfully, that I treat people courteously when they come into my courtroom, professionally, that I'm pretty timely in taking the bench. I don't keep people sitting around long. So I would hope that they, I always tell people, like the new lawyers when they come in, like the new prosecutors especially, because we see a lot more turnover in the prosecutors than we tend to have in other areas, but I tell my prosecutors, those 3 P's of practicing law: prepared, professional, and punctual, and I just tell them that's what I expect from you guys. I expect that you'll come to court prepared, that you'll be on time, and that you'll be professional in how you address opposing counsel, how you address defendants in the courtroom, and I try to practice what I preach, so I would hope that that's what people say about me. I guess I don't know.
What do you think set you apart in comparison to the other group that we sent? That's how I asked you last time.
What sets me apart from the other people in that group?
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure I can fully answer that question, because I don't know a lot of them personally, so I really can't tell you from a personal standpoint what sets me apart. The obvious thing is, other than Judge Moore Stens, is that I have that judicial experience that I don't think any of them had any prior judicial experience other than Judge Moore Stens. And I think there's something to be said for that, of having been on the bench, having that experience under my belt, of knowing how to run a courtroom, how to move cases along, how to make people, make sure people's rights, their due process rights specifically, are protected. So I have that experience that would set me apart. I think, I'm sure everybody has community service stuff that they've done. I've always been very involved in the community since we moved to this area. Involved with YMCA, with POW, with City League, sports, Scouts. I have 6 kids, which I'm sure sets me apart from probably anybody else on the list. I don't know anyone else that has 6 kids. Maybe that disqualifies me for the job. I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but I guess that's what I would say sets me apart. I think my demeanor, I've got, I think, the right temperament, the right demeanor to be a judge. I don't get ruffled too much. I heard one of the candidates last night at the forum say something about, I think it was Ms. McNeely, said something about she's like a duck. The water just kind of rolls off of her back and, rolls off of her feathers or whatever, and I'm kind of the same way. I don't take things personally. I try to keep things professional and on the up and up.
Judge, thank you. You know our practice and what you know by the end of the day.
And you guys have a short day today, huh?
Short day. Shorter.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.